Hey, hey,
Nice.
hey.
Hi, Tomer. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Tomer is the Chief Product Officer of Stellar. Can you please tell us what's been the best thing at DSS for you so far?
Sure. I'm Chief Product Officer of the Stellar Development Foundation. Stellar is a decentralized network. I actually got roped into moderating a session earlier today, which was unexpected, but a lot of fun. I think one of the things that I really like the most is the focus. There's a lot of focus on smart contract security, obviously, but I think a lot of the like things around smart contracts and where kind of like the rubber meets the ground in terms of wallets, in terms of kind of like user experiences. I think that's like super important and hasn't been getting a lot of. Um, can we get the dude at the front row to chill out? Sorry about that.
No, that was very distracting.
Cut.
But moving on, can you briefly describe what's Stellar and how it's different from other chains?
Sure. Stellar is an L1 blockchain, been around since 2015. Scalable, really focused on real world utility. Originally it was around mostly cross-border payments, but today it's also around other aspects like around equitable access. So things like real world assets and also kind of like various like savings financial instruments. So we just launched a new smart contracts platform earlier this year. It's called Soroban, and we're already seeing it being used for DeFi. And the interesting thing about DeFi and Stellar is because you already have this kind of like network of interoperable on and off ramps that provide access to the traditional financial system, we see this like intersection between traditional finance and DeFi, and it allows people to get access to financial instruments that they previously did not have.
What are some specific interesting things in that intersection for you?
I think a lot of the interesting things we're seeing in the Stellar ecosystem is what happens when you take communities that are kind of like less included in terms of like financial access. For example, one of the more successful wallets in the ecosystem is called Decaf. They work in various rural communities in Latin America, and you see that when you give access to um, when you give access to various financial instruments, like the ability to get, paid in dollars from the United States, you get things like, financial literacy, and you get people really empowered by this, and we're seeing like communities that are seeing a lot of prosperity just by having access to these type of financial services.
How do you ensure security in the development of Stellar?
Sure. So I think that security is a multi-layer thing, and first and foremost, it's about having a protocol that is just like sensible and doesn't give developers too many foot guns. So, for example, if you look, one of the classic issues of smart contracts is reentrancy attacks. Soroban, Stellar's smart contract platform, doesn't even allow reentrancy by default, so it completely eliminates that class of security issues. Another thing we do is we try to make testing a really key component of the developer journey. So, things like unit testing, integration testing, fork testing, fuzz testing, all of these are embedded into like the basic contract developer SDK. So it encourages developers to write like meaningful tests from the ground on. And another really important thing is giving the ecosystem access to more advanced testing infrastructure. So things like formal methods, using the Certora prover, for example, or using actual formal tools like Scout by CoinFabric. We're already seeing a lot of these tools that exist in the ecosystem, and we're seeing more and more coming. And kind of like, at one thing that you can't ignore is that at the end of the day, you really do want to have security experts involved in your ecosystem. So one thing that we did is we built what we call the Audit Bank, which is a grant program that allows, that gives developers access to auditors. So let's say, for example, that you're just about to launch your project. Maybe you're a small team. Maybe you don't necessarily have the funds available to for a full audit. Then we at the foundation will actually connect you with an auditor and sponsor your audit so that you actually go to market with an audited project.
I think that's amazing. I think that's a life-saving thing for many projects where the audit's the most expensive thing they would have to go through for the entire development. So I think that's great. And why did you guys decide to support DSS this year?
Well, like I said, we really focused on real-world utility, and part of that, and getting real users onto crypto is about trust. And the current state of DeFi security, with the bugs and the hacks and the prevalence of them, make it very difficult for normal people to feel comfortable in this space. In order to improve on that and to give users trust, the first thing we need to do is we need to bring the brightest, smartest people in security in the same room together. And I think that that's what the DeFi Security Summit does really well, just bringing top-notch experts from around the world to talk about security and DeFi.
Yeah, I think all those things are very important, and we can understate how hard it is to onboard things when people feel unsafe around their transactions. And what is the thing you're the most excited about for Stellar in the coming year of 2025?
So, I think for the industry in general, we're heading into a year that could potentially change everything, right? Like you see what's happening in the States right now, and I think that with regulatory barriers coming down, there's like a huge opportunity for newcomers to the space to actually grow it significantly. And that's the good news. The bad news is that it means that we're getting a lot of inexperienced users into the space, and we really need to help secure them. Because if they're going to have a bad experience coming in this ecosystem, it's going to be very difficult for them to stay and to come back, and for us, as the crypto on-chain economy, to attract new developers and new users.
So would you say that prevention is a lot more important than mitigation after a hack happens?
I would say, obviously there are different layers to response. We would love to mitigate, and we would love to prevent before everything. But I think that, and you can hear this in the conference, like at the end of the day, it's about stopping bugs from happening, but it's also figuring out how to help protocols mitigate after they happen. And it's also about education and supporting our new users.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming, Tamer. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.